Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Easy Peasy with the Smithsonian. I'm Allison Leitner. I'm an instructional designer at the Smithsonian, and I'm here with my colleague, Ashley Naranjo, and a very special guest, my daughter, Annalise, who's helping us today, as well as Georgina Ardalan from DCPS and Jim Reese from the Washington International School. So today we're going to be modeling some of Harvard Project Zero thinking routines for you. These are often done in person, but we're showing you some ways that you can use these online with your students, particularly during these times. I will pass it over to Jim and Georgina in a minute, but before we do that, we wanted to start with a social emotional learning opener. So we'd like you to use the chat to think about what was something that you remember from being read to as a child. So use the chat to talk to that, and I will turn it over.
Thanks so much, Allison. My name is Ashley Naranjo, and I am a museum educator with the Smithsonian Center for Learning and Digital Access. I'm so pleased to have Georgina join us as our teacher facilitator today. It is Teacher Appreciation Week, so be sure at the end of the session to wish Georgina a very happy Teacher Appreciation Week. We're thrilled for folks to be able to join us as well. We're thrilled to have you with us. This has been really kind of an interesting cohort of kind of a community of practice of teachers from across the country. And so this has been just a really special way for us to improve our practice as we explore what this looks like in a distance learning environment. For today's session, you'll notice that there will be a Smithsonian Learning Lab collection in the description, but we will not go into a lot of detail today about the collection. We'll save that for Wednesday's session at 1 p.m. Today, we're really going to focus on a storybook that Georgina has chosen for us to look closely at and start to notice some of the details within those picture books. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Jim Reese from the Washington International School. Jim?
Great. Thanks, Ashley. And it's also a special day, May 4th. And so I'll just say for all you Star Wars fans, 4th be with you. Yay. So this is a real exciting day to have Georgina with us. I've known Georgina for a number of years, and I just want to say a little bit about the context here. First of all, for what we're doing with Easy Peasy, and then introduce Georgina and let her take it away. So we've been doing this for a number of weeks now. We've had Easy Peasy sessions about using thinking routines with works of art and objects in museums. We've seen teachers lead us through artifacts and objects and artworks that have to do with social historical issues, with environmental advocacy, with design thinking. And today, I'm really, 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 really excited because we're thinking about the early childhood setting. But as in all of these sessions, we think there's a strong application across ages and across subject areas. So while we're focusing on young learners today with what Georgina is doing and on Wednesday, I hope that those of you who don't work with young children can think about how the application works in your own context, because I can guarantee you it will. And Georgina and I might have time to have a little discussion around that either at the end of today's session or Wednesdays. But with that, I'm going to turn things over to Georgina and just say that she's been a very active member of our DC Project Zero group here in Washington, DC. She's been on the faculty of our summer institute called WISIT, which we today just announced it's going to a virtual WISIT this year. It's in early August. She's been a vital part of our Children Are Citizens project, which really teaches young children to be active and to make a positive impact on their local community. And she's also coaching in the Making Learning Visible online course. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to her and let her introduce what she's going to lead us through today. So Georgina, it's all yours.
Wow, thank you. Well, firstly, I want to thank the Smithsonian Learning Lab, especially Ashley and Allison for the invitation. I especially want to thank Jim, who coordinates the best professional development opportunities for teachers. So thank you so much. I've been looking forward to Mondays and Wednesdays at 1, and I've learned so much from these sessions from Jim and Ellen and Jamie. And I'm really honored and really very, very flattered to be asked to talk here today about thinking routines as they apply to early childhood. So again, my name is Georgina Ardalan, and I'm a preschool teacher in the District of Columbia Public Schools at a school called J.O. Wilson Elementary School. And as Jim mentioned, I'm also a coach for one of Project Zero's online courses called Making Learning Visible. So we have a very special guest today. Her name is Annalise, and Annalise is going to be our model student today. Annalise, thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Your mom said that you really love books, and you're very, very good at public speaking. So I'm thrilled that you could make it. So we're going to read a book today called The Three Billy Goats Gruff. But today, we're not going to read the words of the story. We're going to look at the pictures, and we're going to use a thinking routine called See, Think, Wonder. And this thinking routine is going to help us look closely at the pictures, think about the story, and figure out any questions that we might have. And this could even lead into a little mini research project. So we're going to start, yay! We're going to start by getting all of our wiggles out. So let's wiggle our toes and inside our shoes or our socks. Swing your legs back and forth in your chair. That's it. Shake your hips, shake your abs, shimmy your shoulders, wiggle your elbows and wiggle your fingers. You might even want to roll your head around your neck and then raise your shoulders all the way up to your ears and let them fall down your back. And when your back is nice and straight, take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And now we're calm and focused. We're ready to look at the cover. So Ashley, can you show us the cover of the story? So first, we're going to start looking at the top left of the cover. And we're going to look at the background of the background. Yeah, thanks, Ashley. Perfect. And we're going to let our eye just sort of circle around that first figure. And then my eye falls diagonally down the page to that second figure. And I'm looking closely at the colors and the lines and the shapes. And my eye is falling all the way down. And Ashley, would you mind just zooming back out a little bit? Thank you. And once we're down at the bottom of the page, we can look across the cover. There we go. And I'll ask Annalise, what do you notice about this cover?
So it has a lot of shapes. And when we first looked at the cover like this, I only noticed the first two Billy Goats. The third one was a little camouflage, so I didn't see it, but when we zoomed in, I could see it better.
Are you talking about the little white one at the top?
Yeah.
You didn't notice that one in the background? So when you looked really closely, you noticed a little bit more detail in that background? Yeah? Is there anything else you noticed about the cover?
So, all of these flowers are white, and I think that might be why I couldn't see the last Billy Goat.
Oh.
And usually this, that, the slanted part. Yeah. It's all that slanted part is green.
That's right. I'm noticing that green color too. So there's lots of green with the flowers that are on it that you notice. And I'm looking even a little bit more closely at that first figure in the foreground. And I noticed that he has some flowers in his mouth. And then that Billy Goat all the way in the back, it looks like he's got flowers in his mouth too. Do you see that?
I think he does.
Yeah, I think he does.
Yeah, he does.
All right, can we see the next page, please? So Annalise, on this page, we're going to be doing seeing, similar to what we've been doing on the cover. We're going to look really closely with our eyes. So first, we're going to start, and we'll stay zoomed out, but we'll look closely at the picture, and we'll start on that lower left-hand corner, and we'll just circle our eyes around that figure, noticing all the details, what's on his head, what his eyes look like, his expression, his mouth, the colors. Then we'll go to the next character, and we'll let our eyes just go all the way up to the top, and all the way down, looking at his colors. And then we'll move to that third figure, that one that's all the way on the right-hand side. And we'll look very carefully at his mouth and his fur and what's on top of his head. We're going to notice the colors and the shapes. We can notice their similarities and their differences. Annalise, is there something that you would like to share out that you see?
I see that the first little billy goat's the little white one. I think that's the first one. Doesn't really have the horns like the other goats do.
Yeah,
it has like mini horns, like semicircles.
That's a really great see. You're right. That little one, the white one, just has little tiny horns. But the medium one, his horns are bigger. And then that brown one, his horns are the biggest.
Yeah. And on the brown one, there's like grass in his mouth, I think. Yes,
I see that too. I see little grass sticking out of his mouth. You are a really careful looker.
And they're their mouth is smiling the same and their eyes all look the same.
Oh, that's a great similarity. You're right. All their eyes look the same.
They're all different sizes.
Yep, I think that is absolutely right. Yes, there's a small one, a medium one, and a big one.
I think that's why their horns are different sizes.
I think that's a really good point. All right, with that, actually, you're going to lead us right into the second page, Annalise. Perfect. So actually, we'll go to the next page. And we're going to be doing something called thinking. Now, thinking is tough. It's the voice inside your head. But let's start by looking at this page really carefully. We're going to start this time in the bottom right of this page. And we're going to look at all these three figures that you noticed on the other page. The little one, the medium one, and the big one. And we can start by looking at their faces and the colors. And then my eye actually goes to the left. So I'm going to look all the way to the left, and I'm going to notice something that's sort of in the middle of that fold. And then my eye floats up to the top and back over and down to the billy goats again. So thinking about the colors and the lines and the shapes and the three characters that we looked at before, can you tell us, Annalise, what you're thinking? What does that voice inside your head say?
So it's telling me, the voice is telling me that the water is different colors, but I don't know why. Maybe because of the sun is reflecting something. And up here I see small trees, but I know they're actually really big because they're trees.
Oh yeah, so you're also thinking about the foreground and the background and the trees. Even though they're really big, they're probably quite far away because they show up small in the picture.
And, also, I didn't know that the billy goat's horns actually carved back. I thought they carved to the side, but they carved back.
Oh, that is such an interesting point. Yeah, you're right. In the earlier pictures, it did sort of look like the billy goat's horns were curled to the side, but this one, it is. So you can tell that they're all the way in the back of the head.
They might be like right here, maybe, because they look a little slanted.
Now, I'm thinking about where those billy goats are looking. Can you tell where those billy goats are looking? What do you think?
I think they're looking at the grass because I can see that the middle one has his tongue out like he's licking his lips because he sees grass to eat.
Yeah.
So I think we're looking at the grass.
It does. Do you lick your lips sometimes when you're hungry? I bet that's what that middle billy goat is doing too. I bet he's licking his lips because he's feeling a little hungry too. All right. Thank you. We're going to go to the next page, please, Ashley. And we're going to stay zoomed out for a little bit. This next page, we're going to be talking about wonders. Now, a wonder is a question that you might have. So let's start the same way. Let's start by close looking. So first, we're going to start on that bottom left of the page. And then my eye is going to travel over and maybe see some shapes Oh, and maybe some of that water that you saw on the other page.
Oh,
And I'm going to go all the way to the right, and my eye's going to go up to the top and all the way across the top of that page. And then I'm going to ask Ashley to please zoom in on that figure that's on the top left of the page. Thanks. And we're going to look really carefully at that figure, and we're going to notice something about his face, his position. Maybe we can notice the hands and the feet. And can we even notice his outfit?
So, I wonder who he is.
That's a great wonder.
What even is he? Is he a troll?
These are all really good questions.
If he were a troll, he would be stoned now because probably, right?
These are all really good questions. I'm also wondering why he's living under the bridge.
Why? Maybe it's giving him shade.
Yeah, maybe he's just feeling hot and he's seeking some shade. Yeah, I do that too.
And
maybe.
I noticed that his nose is purple and his teeth are gold. Usually people's teeth are white.
That is true. Yeah, he does have some golden teeth. Well, you know, I never thought about that as golden teeth before.
Yeah.
I'm wondering about that now too.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, Annalise, you have been a terrific and wonderful model for our thinking routine, See, Think, Wonder. I really appreciate your help, and I'm so sorry that we're not finishing the book with you. But I'm going to make sure that I send you a copy of the book so you and your mommy can read it together.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Annalise.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, so Georgina and I are going to do a bit of talking about the routine and the way she took us through it. And if any of you are familiar with See, Think, Wonder, we've modeled it before on Easy Peasy, but it's also often a sort of the starter routine that a lot of teachers or educators will begin with when they get introduced to thinking routines. Georgina, tell us a little bit about your thinking behind the way you presented it to us today as you were modeling it with Annalise and the way you do it with your 3-year-old.
Sure. Well, I have to tell you, Annalise was an amazing model student. She picked it up incredibly quickly. She's also twice the age of the children that I typically work with. So I teach 3-year-olds. I think Annalise is 7. Is that right, Allison?
Yeah, she's 6.5. Yeah.
Okay, so she's much older. So she was great, and she picked up on See, Think, Wonder really quickly. So the way I start it, so I teach 3-year-olds, and the way I start with the thinking routine is I start really by defining those 3 verbs. See is looking closely with your eyes, thinking is the voice inside your head, and a wonder is a question that you might have. And I also use these gesticulations as I'm teaching the routine to help the children connect the verbs with what they're actually saying. And then I go ahead and I introduce the Think Wonder really, really slowly into the classroom. First, I actually don't introduce it until October or November because the culture of the classroom and the routines have to get really, really settled before we start introducing this vocabulary. But once that language is established, the cool thing about this thinking routine especially is that it can really be done anywhere. So today I showed you an example through a book, but it can travel with you. So we use these thinking routines on the playground and in the hallway. It's wonderful to overhear the children talking to each other as they're looking at the changing trees. And we've heard children say, oh, I see the different colors on the leaves. Another might say, I think the leaves are gonna fall. And another one might wonder, I wonder what will happen to the tree when all the leaves fall off. So this language really becomes part of the classroom.
Great. And I noticed that Cher earlier, when she saw you using the gestures, made a comment about how powerful that was so that young learners can understand through gesture what you're doing. And Elizabeth was noticing how you were modeling and introducing some new vocabulary and pointing things out so that, again, young learners could figure that out. I wonder also if you might talk about how you slow down with See, Think, Wonder. So how much time would you spend on See, Think, Wonder, maybe when you're introducing it to 3-year-olds? And tell us a little bit about why you would slow down.
Yeah, of course. So it really depends on the class, on how slow you should go. There have been some years where I've done the C portion of See, Think, Wonder in one day. And there have been other years where we spent a whole week on just seeing and really understanding what that is. And then a whole week on thinking. And that thinking, the voice inside your head, is really hard to understand because it's so intangible for 3-year-olds. So we really do slow down and take our time as we think about each of those verbs and what they mean.
Great, thank you. And I'm going to draw attention to a few more comments in the chat box. And feel free, if you have questions for Georgina or you want to make a comment, to post it there, and we'll be happy to bring those up. So Veronica noticed that you were framing the thinking by saying something like thinking is hard, that gave the children a sense that you had high expectations for what they were going to be doing. But also going to define it by, it's the voice inside your head, which you told Annalise, so it makes it very concrete and distinct. So that they're getting a sense of how to do this. So that trying out and scaffolding toward what you're asking them to do was really, really important. I think it's important with all children, all people we're teaching, but especially, for 3-year-olds, it's often their first time in school. They're getting used to all these different things, and it was just really nice to see that kind of modeling.
Great, thank you.
Angela, and who's a friend from Miami, and we know her as Patty. Angela's asking, saying that it's a great presentation for teacher preparation. So that idea that you're modeling for people who might be new to the profession or who are going to go into teaching to be able to see that as well. And a little shout out to Miami, because Georgina and I both are from.
Yeah.
Georgina, do you want to say a little bit about the reason you would choose See, Think, Wonder with this particular task of looking at a picture book?
Sure. So picture books are, sorry, 1 second. Let me just grab my notes. So picture books are really just an invitation for children to make their own meaning to the books. So even though the author is writing the words of the books and they have the story, picture books are just a series of pictures where children really make their own meaning. And I do love using open-ended questions like what makes you say that, or what's happening, or how are they feeling, which is something we'll talk about in Wednesday's session. Or even if we had more time, I would have asked Annalise to please get into the position of this troll. So show me with your body what they're doing in that picture, and what can we do to find out more. And I think especially now during this time, it's a wonderful time in our global history to really, as our life pace has slowed down, to really slow down the pace that we're reading with our children at home. So I believe that reading picture books with children is about close looking, slowing down, and not rushing through those words or the pictures, and really listening to the child and listening to what the child's meaning is through the pictures that they're looking at.
And about how long would you take with 3 Billy Goats Gruff, this version that you're using?
So Jim, I've actually done this in 2 weeks.
Wow.
So it's a relatively short book. There's not many words to it, but it is so rich with characters and with meaning. So we start again very slowly. We might spend a few days on each of the pages, just like I did with Annalise. We might only read 3 pages in a day, but have really rich discussions about those 3 days. And then the fun thing about the 3 Billy Goats Gruff is that the children like to actually become the characters. So at the end of the 2 weeks, we actually put on a performance, and sometimes we even get to invite special guests like Mr. Jim to come to our classroom and watch our performances of the 3 Billy Goats Gruff. And it's wonderful to see that transformation of a child's curiosity and wonder from looking at that first page and then actually becoming the troll and taking on his whole perspective and the essence of that character.
Great. And that gives us a little bit of a preview for those of you who are going to be able to tune in with us on Wednesday. We're going to show the scaffolding that Georgina continues to do with this particular text to lead to that kind of performance of the story and building the empathy that we want children to have as they grow older. We have a note from Elizabeth in the chat that says, See, Think, Wonder as a routine is such a great tool for all students. She uses it with social studies content by asking students to look at a painting, image, or artifact and notice what they see, what they think, and what they wonder. And I've mentioned this before with Looking Times 2 when I led those sessions a few weeks ago. But See, Think, Wonder can be adapted to other kinds of contexts. So, for example, listen, think, wonder. I've worked with a really, really talented music teacher who would take her students out into the woods surrounding our school and have them just listen to nature and really, really spend time slow listening to get them attuned to what you're listening for when you listen to musical compositions. I have a very talented English teacher I've worked with who by using See, Think, Wonder, then adapted it to Read, Think, Wonder as they approach texts on their own. They might get into a difficult text, but if they use this kind of routine, it can kind of slow down their thinking so that they can start to absorb what's happening and really learn to use it as a model or as a tool for looking at text when they're encountering it for the first time. We see Cher, who teaches 11th graders in a very advanced literature course. Cher says that she uses it for written text. So it's, again, it's very, very powerful to look at a paragraph or a poem or a whole page of text and to really teach the students to observe and read carefully. Also noticing Susanna saying that she's used it in leadership team meetings. So to really think about an issue, maybe looking at a schedule or a challenge, just to really to slow down and look. And Tara saying it's great for world language instruction, getting kids to be able to express their thoughts and the thinking is powerful and great for confidence building. So it kind of lowers that affective filter that sometimes gets in the way of speaking in a language classroom. So thinking routines often give kids the urge to want to speak, and I'm sure you see that with the 3-year-olds.
Yeah.
I'm curious about the 3-year-olds, Georgina, when you use it with a story like Billy Goat's Gruff, do they start making connections about the story between the pages, or do they focus generally just on what they're seeing in front of them?
They do focus on what they're seeing in front of them. I'm always amazed at their comments, though. And the 3-year-olds are so sensitive and so empathetic. And that image of the troll, every year, children come up with new things that are totally blow me away. They've often said that the troll is sad because the troll is missing mommy and daddy, that the troll is scared or his belly is aching because he's so hungry, and they connect also with how their belly aches when they're hungry too. So it is very interesting to see those empathetic responses from the children.
Great. All right, I think we're almost out of time, so I'm going to turn things back over to Allison. But I also want to invite everybody to come back on Wednesday at 1 o'clock for our next session with Georgina, where we'll continue this exploration of this text.
Yes. Thank you both. Thank you, Jim and Georgina. I'm really looking forward to Wednesday as well. So I think as we leave, please remember, be thinking about how you can make reading such a powerful experience for kids, and that these thinking routines are a really great way to do that. As Jim said, we will be back Wednesday at 1 o'clock. And unlike what we've done previous weeks, Wednesday is going to be sort of a continuation of this. So we're not going to show you the collection right now. We're going to go through it on Wednesday, but we hope you'll come back. We'll do a little bit of review from today and then move forward with a slightly different thinking routine as we continue to work with Billy Goat's Gruff. So thank you for taking the time to join us today, and we'll see you Wednesday.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody, and thanks again, Annalise.